Former Vice President Kamala Harris appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert last night and explained why she thinks the American political system is broken.
I always believed that as fragile as our democracy is, our systems would be strong enough to defend our most fundamental principles. And I think right now that they're not as strong as they need to be.
For more, let's chat with Joel Payne and Ed O'Keefe now. Joel is a CBS News political contributor and the Chief Communications Officer for the Political Action Committee Move On. And Ed is the hardest working man in TV. He's our CBS News senior White House and political correspondent. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. So, Joel, if Harris here says that the democratic system is broken, is she still suggesting she might fix it? And how would she do that from the outside? She's also announced she's not going to run for California governor.
Yeah, Earl, it's good to be with you. You know, I found that interview to be pretty remarkable. Colbert really pushed hard to try to get some revealing answers out of the vice president. And as you might imagine, on a book tour, she pushed people to read her book. But I thought her most revealing answers were the ones about the system and also about capitulation. You know, this idea of a broken system, I do think is something that Democrats have started to understand. You have to speak the language of what the public is talking about here. And I think what Kamala Harris is doing is acknowledging a thing that Democrats have probably been critiqued for not acknowledging in the past enough, is that the system is broken and that there is no sense in trying to act like just getting to the next election is going to fix it. And I think that this was her attempt to do that. People can identify whether or not they think she did a good idea. The other thing I would say is, you know, Errol, I was watching the Andrew Schultz podcast recently, the Flagrant podcast, and he talked about how the Democrats could kind of go to school on what a good patron or a good server would do at a restaurant. And telling you, well, the beef Wellington might not be good or the potatoes might not be good, but the chicken is good. They want a good faith critique of the system built into your ideas about how to make things better. And I think that that's what the vice president was attempting to do there. Some people can debate whether or not she was skillful enough or not.
That's interesting. And Ed, how does that square with former President Joe Biden? Because he also stepped back into the spotlight last night. He gave a speech in Chicago. What was his message? How did he look and sound from your point of view?
He was speaking to the American Bar Association as they held a big gala, and he raised concerns about the future of the nation's legal system particularly. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We need to face the hard truth of this administration. And it has been to ease all the gains we've made in my administration, to erase history rather than make it, to erase fairness, equality, to erase justice itself. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact.
The issue is that's not necessarily the messenger Democrats want out there critiquing the current administration, which is what's going to make Harris's future especially so interesting as she decides what to do next.
Yeah, and I want to follow up with you both on that point. Joel, Harris is touting her book. It is about her failed run for the White House. To Ed's point, it puts a spotlight on what Democrats did wrong. Is there a risk all this looking back will hurt the party's future?
Oh, I don't think so right now. I mean, listen, Democrats, this is the thousand flowers bloom stage of kind of Democratic revival. We're getting it all out. We're doing all the exorcisms. We're doing all of the kind of look backs and the postmortems on what happened and why it didn't work out well. I think it's okay for people to all speak their truths. I think what's important for Democrats is to land on what is the proactive message you're going to go to the American people with in 2026, and how does that set the stage for 2028? I think that looking back, particularly to the journeys of Biden and Harris, can be helpful to that, but that's not enough. Doing what they did is not enough. Sounding like they sounded is not enough. And I think most Democrats understand that now.
And Ed, it's way early, but is Harris considered a front runner for a 2028 run?
If only because when you ask people who should be the leader of the party, her name recognition helps her. But this book called 107 Days, about the shortest campaign in modern history, coming in September, according to her, is designed to sort of lay down that marker. Here's what happened. Here's how I remember it. And then use the book tour in the coming year or so to determine, is there still enough juice there for a potential run in 2028? The idea that she's out of it for the next 2 years, fine. She'll make some money. She'll get to travel around the country. She says she'll get to listen to people We've seen this kind of listening tour before. Hillary Clinton did it most famously. Others have tried to do it as well. There will be others doing it as they contemplate a White House run, but she's certainly keeping her options open.
I know you'll both be watching closely. Great to have you here on the show. Joel Payne and Ed O'Keefe. Enjoy your weekend.